Hi, welcome to Dazlious, Learning the Language of Autism. My name is Belle Barroway, for those of you who've not seen me before. For those of you that have, welcome back. I hope you've enjoyed the food series that I've been doing over the last few weeks, and I hope that those of you that have seen it, you found it helpful in some way, shape or form, or it relates to your experiences and things that you can share with other people. And if that's the case, I would love for you to comment on your views and your experiences so that we can create some kind of like toolbox for people, because this is just one way. All the things that I express and talk about on here are just things from our own experiences at home and what worked for us. It's by no means, this way and no other way. It's just one of the many ways in which we can help our autistic children, adults in our lives, to make their lives easier and far more pleasant than they can be for them sometimes, with the practical life skills that we need to do in order to stay healthy and strong and thrive and all the rest of it. So this week I'm going to be talking about teeth cleaning, and I say teeth cleaning because although the ultimate end is probably to use a brush, so we get a really good brush. Everything I talk about, I always say it, but I'm going to say it again, it's a process. And the younger you start if it is your child when they're really young, although even if you start when they're young, it may appear that, it may be that they're okay with toothbrushing for a while, and then as they start to get older and their sensory sensitivities become stronger, or some become more potent than others, then you may find that there are other challenges and difficulties as they grow, and sometimes people think that's a regression. But what I'm learning is it's not really a regression. It's more that as they grow and develop, like all children, you become more aware of things, and other, part of the human development process is that our senses become more apparent, and we become more aware of them, and therefore they can affect us physically, emotionally and mentally as we grow. When we're tiny babies, we don't, newborn babies, they're so unaware, seemingly unaware of many sensory stimuli around them, because for some reason, we're still in a very cocooned way. And then as we grow, we become more and more aware of things, and then things start to affect us. And it's the same with all children, including autistic children. Okay, I'm looking up at my notes because I have notes here. Some of the things I'm going to be talking about with teeth cleaning are going to kind of, because it's to do with the mouth, some of my food chapters, particularly chapter B and C, will be for taste and sound, sensation and texture, will also be quite relatable to teeth cleaning and toothbrushing with sensitive children. So brushing teeth can be a massively big deal for our autistic kids and adults. It's something that, they may never really fully enjoy, or like, woohoo, brushing my teeth. But it is something, I believe, and for our own experiences with our son, that it's become part of his routine. It's become non-stressful. It's become I'll explain it as we go, but he now does use an electric toothbrush. And my son is a very, very mouth sensitive human being. So food and anything to do with around the mouth, brushing teeth and all of that is a massive deal. So, we've spent many years working on these skills and life skills for him to be able to not find it quite as distressing as he used to. Okay, again, I'm going to say, I'm not a medical health professional, so obviously any mouth, teeth problems that you think are over and above the sensitivities, then you go see a dentist, or you speak to a dentist, or you speak to a health professional and get advice from them. This is by no means, I'm a mum, a nursery nurse, so please, just wanted to say that. Because sometimes, we don't want to blame autism on everything. Sometimes children that find it difficult to have their teeth brushed, cleaned, is because it actually hurts, because there are physical reasons for that. It could be a gum thing, it could be a tooth thing, a nerve thing, all sorts of things. So, I don't want you to just think, oh, well, they're autistic, so it's got to be sensory stuff. Remember they're a whole person, and they need their medical checks as much as anybody else, or at least seek advice, because that's a whole nother challenge of getting a dentist, and getting your child to enable a dentist to go anywhere near them. Well, you know what dentists are like, right? And going to dentist is not pleasant, but that's another chapter down the road. For now, we're going to be talking about cleaning teeth. Clean them well. Hopefully we can avoid the dentist. That's the aim. So if your child is particularly mouth sensitive, then brushing teeth is going to seem like a torturous ordeal. And it's to be aware of that. It's to be aware of, yes, it needs to be done. Yes, it helps keep our mouth and our teeth and our gums healthy. But being aware of the reality for them, the challenge and the excruciating distress that it can cause children, is something that we as parents, I feel we really must acknowledge, and not ignore it, because it's all well and good when you're not the person that's feeling those things. Just go, oh, come on, it's only going to take a couple of minutes. Let's just get your teeth brushed, done and dusted. There, it's done. Get on with your life. Because it's a lifelong skill and it's an important one. I personally think it's worth taking your time over, and I think it's worth, doing it as compassionately and as gently and as kindly as you possibly can, so that your child eventually, the end goal, remember, a process can take that long, or it can take a really long time. But if you work on it every day and build it up, before you know it, they're brushing their teeth with an electric toothbrush, just like our boy is. And that's something that I never thought you would do in a million years. So it can work. There are other ways, and other parents try different ways, and have got their own strategies, and that's absolutely fine. But I'm here to talk about ours and what works for us, and what was comfortable for me as a parent, kind of like putting our son through such a process, and we're all different with that, and your kids better than anybody else, so this is what we did. So, the reasons why brushing teeth can be so stressful, some of the reasons that I've experienced with our son, and what I've heard other autistic people say, is the closeness of it. If they are unable to brush their own teeth, and let's face it, if it's something that they don't really know why they're doing it, they don't understand the purpose of it, particularly when they're really young, and that's going to develop as they get older, or not. If they don't understand the purpose and they don't see the need, and it's uncomfortable and unpleasant, then they're not even going to try and do it. They're not even going to, because if something hurts you or feels distressing, none of us will do something, right? Unless we absolutely have to. And all of us as human beings, if there are things that we really, really don't like doing, as we're grown-ups, we can make those decisions, and we tend to avoid them. So our children are just the same. So we need to be aware of that and be sensitive to that, and patient. So because of the closeness, and if many autistic people find it difficult being in a close proximity to other humans, unless it's them bringing it in, because I think when they bring it in, they're preparing themselves. There's a build up to it. It might look like it's just, oh, they just come and gave me a hug, but they might have been thinking about that process for quite a while and getting everything just right for themselves. A bit like taking a deep breath and going in for the hug, because wanting a hug and not being able to cope with a hug are two very different things. But that's another chapter. So many things to talk about. So back to teeth brushing. So because of the closeness of having to get so close to someone, especially in front of them, that in itself could be a whole reason why your child is resisting the toothbrushing. So that's an awareness number one. Also, the fact that you're going to put something in their mouth is another very invasive experience, and a scary one. Again, if they don't understand why, it'd be like, why are you putting that in my mouth? They might gag, especially if they're, you know, having difficulty putting food in their mouth, and then you're putting this big toothbrush, you know, and it's going in, and then it's going on the teeth, and then you're moving it around, and then you've got this funny flavour on there as well. Like, what are you trying to do to me? You know, there's so many factors to it. So it's like breaking it down. I feel for us, we broke it right down, because our boy was mouth sensitive from the get-go, and brushing his teeth when he was a really, really tiny little bubba, when he first started getting teeth, wasn't too much of a problem, because we use a very, very tiny baby brush, and it's like a quick little brush, isn't it? And there's no big deal. And like I say, he was unaware of other senses at that time. But as he grew and he started getting to like 2 and 3, things started to get really, really stressful for him. And so we had to change all our strategies, and you know, it was scary and it was difficult because we didn't know what we were doing. So, which is why I'm sharing this, to hopefully help new parents to this, you know, ease their way a little bit as best we can. So everything that I'm going to talk about now are tips that we've used with a mixture of things that other autistic people have shared with me with their mouth teeth cleaning experience. I'm so used to calling it teeth cleaning that I never call it teeth brushing anymore, because to begin with, we didn't use a brush. We use things like, if they're unable to cope with a brush, try using a cotton bud. Remember, it's a process, so you're going to build up to a brush, but rather than go all in with a big brush and a tiny little mouth, like a cotton bud can be a really good tool, and you just very gently go in the mouth, and even if you just go in the mouth and touch one tooth, and then you finish before the distress gets too big, because then the next time you brush, they're going to go straight to that place. Whereas if you can try and practice kind of like just going in and going, oh, and then finished, and let them get on with their lives, then the next time you can add that onto, you know, 1 tooth, 2 tooth, and just touch. You're getting them used to the feeling and the sensation of their teeth and mouth being touched with something else by someone else. If they're able to, you know, you can give them a cotton bud of their own, and you can ask them to do it to you if they can cope with that. If you close your eyes, maybe it might help, so that you're not so, you know, there's lots of different things you can try. You can use mirrors so they can see themselves doing it. You can do it to yourself in front of them. And, you know, I would encourage you to not use phrases like, oh, see, it doesn't even hurt, or, oh, look, it's fine, because to them, it might hurt, and to them, it isn't fine. And it kind of devalues their own feelings and sensations. So if you can avoid, we do it because we think we're doing the right thing, but if we can avoid doing that as neurotypical parents, then, you know, and acknowledge that for them it's difficult. It might not be difficult for you, but it is difficult for them. And just to keep that in mind. You can also use your finger, you know, make sure your fingers are nice and clean, and you can perhaps get, you know, just because you're getting them used to the sensation of things being on their teeth. So if you start doing this, or use your little finger, and then obviously the more comfortable they get with that, you can go to the back and start experimenting, because you're building up trust. Trust is key. If you are unable to trust the person that's closest to you, especially as little people, then, where else have you got to go? Trust is really important for all of us to be able to function, in a healthy and harmonious manner. We really need trust in our lives, and for our parents, we really need to be able to trust them. And that is something that can be earned, and if you work with them, I found it makes everybody's life so much easier. Another tip is you could just, if they're finding toothpaste difficult because of the flavors, toothpaste is a really strong flavor anyway, even for those of us that can tolerate it. Depending on what mood I'm in, it depends on whether I'm like, sometimes brushing my teeth, the toothpaste can feel so intense, and sometimes it does make me gag, and other times it doesn't. So just use water if that's the case. Again, remember the process. You will build up to using toothpaste, but in the beginning, if it's just water, it's okay. Just a little bit of brushing with the cotton bud, or a tiny baby brush, or a finger, or a little bit of cloth, just with water to begin with, is something that is, again, getting them used to something being in their mouth. And this is what we did with George. When we started to experimenting with, or re-experimenting with the flavours of toothpaste, we tried all sorts of flavours, and we went through many flavours. And again, if taste sensitivity is big for your child or person that's autistic, then the flavour, the sensation and the flavour of the toothpaste is going to be like even stronger than it already is. So using, like, I don't know, I haven't got a pinprick, but like a pinprick of blob of toothpaste is, from a flavour point of view, could be the equivalent of putting a whole toothbrush full of toothpaste on it. So again, we're building up. So when you get to the stage where you feel you can start using toothpaste, tiniest amount, the tiniest, like to the point where you think, it's just ridiculous. Really? Yeah, really. Give it a go. And because the ultimate goal is to clean their teeth and so they stay strong and healthy. But if it's going to be a process to do that, then it is worth it, I think. Well, it is. The proof is in the pudding for us, because our son now, he's 14 now. So we started doing this when he was, like I say, a baby. And then it all got a bit scary and ugly for 2 or 3 years. He wasn't having his teeth brushed every day. And it was only with water. And it was a stress for me. It was a worry. I was worrying that he would end up with all his teeth falling out. I was worried that we were going to give him gum disease. And, all the scary things that you read about and see on these adverts and blah. So, and getting to the dentist would mean being put to sleep, and it was a whole another load of worry and stress that was just too much to bear. So brushing teeth is important, I get that, but so is getting them to find it, have it done with ease. So we found that our boy only wanted to use non-fluoride toothpaste. And again, sometimes we don't need to know the reasons why. You just accept that. Okay, sweetheart, if that's the way you need it to be, then that's how it will be. And that's what we do. So we use an organic, non-fluoride toothpaste, as I use it to, for ourselves, thanks to our boy. And it was a flavour that he could handle. And that's the one we've been using ever since. And it's a green one, like a green gel. And is it a green gel? Yeah, it's a green gel. And he's fine now. I put a blob on for this side, a blob, and then rinse it, a blob for this side, rinse it, a blob for this side, blob for this side. So it's in 4 stages. And then we do the fronts, and then we do the bottoms. And that's our system. That's our routine. And that's how it works. it's important to put it into a routine. So into a nice flurry routine where there's, you know, not bribes. I don't believe in bribes. Or if you do this, you can have that. That's a bit ABA to me, and I don't like that. It makes me feel uncomfortable. So it's rather than bribes, it's finding things that they enjoy and like to have and experience while they're brushing their teeth, not as a bribe, as brush your teeth, then you can have that. That's my way, our way. Other parents would like to use the treat way. If you do this, then you can have that. I mean, it's a very common thing that we do with many children in as parents, and I'm not saying there's anything majorly wrong with it, but I tend not to use that myself. Encourage your child when they can to be a part of the process. So do you want to do it? Do you want to do mine? Remember, you might need to close your eyes for that because they're going to be coming close to you. And smile and, make it as, brush your teeth around them when you're not asking them to do it. I often still do that even now. I'll walk into the lounge or whatever when I'm brushing my teeth, just so George can see that I'm doing it too, and that it's like everybody in the house brushes their teeth, and it becomes normal. Even though we're trying to work through the sensory stuff, it's just showing them that it's not just them, it's everybody brushes their teeth and la la la. When you first start brushing their teeth, and if it's difficult for them, then try and brush and then stop before they get upset, because that builds up the trust. If you can get in before the distress happens, you just stop it and then you try again tomorrow. And then you do it again and you try and do it before they get upset, and you continue to do that. It will increase, it does, because, well, it just does, but it just takes time. If you can, try my advice. Again, this is only one way, no one has to listen to me, is to not restrain them if you can help it. Like holding someone down and pinning them down and sticking something in somebody's mouth is like torture. And even though it might seem quick and easy and it's over and done with and off you go, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to me. So it didn't feel right for our son either, so that's why we didn't do it. So I would, through this video and for the strategies that I'm sharing with you, part of that is to not restrain them if you can help it. If you have to brush their teeth while they're walking around or watching the TV or whatever it is that they're doing, then just incorporate it into that if you can, if that's what works for you. It doesn't matter. What matters is that they're getting their teeth brushed. You can also use what we use with our boy, even now, is it's like we go in, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I go to the other. So like it's like we brush at the side of the mouth, like we brush this side. And then under these bits, and we do, so it's like a 3-sided brush in each corner. So I really make sure we brush well, and so far that is working really, really, really well. He's got really good teeth, really strong teeth, really healthy teeth. I'm so pleased. Yeah, and all this build up that we've done, everything that I've spoken about, we've tried, and it has taken, I've gone through so many toothbrushes, like baby soft brushes. Even when he was 12 years old, he was still using a very, very, very soft children's electric brush. Well, we moved up to an electric brush and a children's one, which is much quieter, and showed him, experimented with how it felt and put it in his mouth and gave it to him. And he just, because it had been years of trust building, he trusts me. He knows I've got his back. He knows I listen, and he knows that I'm willing to take the time. And at 14, he's now got a really good understanding of that. and it also puts you in good stead for new experiences and other things that perhaps that they may need to have done, but they know they can trust you. So even if they find it scary, the trust part is there, and that really makes a big difference, I've learned. Other things you can do is like, if when you first start brushing their teeth, it's like a minimum amount of brushing, is to avoid strong sugary drinks and lots of sugary sweeties and things. It depends on what diet your child has, and I've done a whole series on food, so I understand the challenges that can happen around food. But if you can, or if they will only drink sugary drinks or flavoured fruity drinks, try and water it down bit by bit so that they hardly notice, so that you're getting as much water in there as possible. And if they are able to handle drinking water but not yet able to brush their teeth for very long, you could even get them to drink a tiny little bit of water, or a big bit of water, when they've eaten their food or drunk their yummy drink, because that just helps sluice the sugar from your teeth, and we all know that it's sugar that can cause the most problems with teeth. So I said about trying not to bribe them, using their favourite toy, a TV programme, you can sing to them, you can ask them lots of questions about what they're going to be doing and things that they love, like if they love a favourite character, talk about that, get them laughing, get them giggling, whatever, if you can, whatever makes them happy, bring that into the experience as like a distraction, and a soother rather than a bribe. Some strategies are, when you do this, see that you can have that, but I tended to allow George to have those things while he was experiencing the toothbrushing. Any visual stimulation, like another adult in front of them, like George, our boy, likes it when someone's just doing silly things. He still likes that even now. So if you're just jumping about and whatever, and singing silly songs and making silly actions, it makes him laugh. He likes slapstick humour, and that can work. So you can get a sibling to do it. You can get their teddy to dance. Anything that's just going to help ease the sensory experience of the thing that you're actually doing. Joy is a great healer and soother and calmer, and the more we can get our children to giggle and laugh, as long as it's a genuine laughter and not a masking laughter, masking is something else we're going to be talking about in other chapters, then you know that you're onto a winner. And finally, things that you can do pre-brushing teeth is you can create like a storyboard. You can use books for that if they're interested in books, and they'll sit and look at pictures with you. There's loads of books, kids' books about there about brushing teeth, and more to do with the process and the feelings, because again, it's all well and good saying it doesn't hurt, it's fine, but if it does hurt them and it isn't fine, that devalues their experience, and that's not what we're here to do. We're here to empower them. So it's more about showing them what the process of and the tools that you're going to use, which is all part of the whole package. And you can also use pictures, PECs, picture board, picture exchange communication. There's loads of stuff on that online, and you can use like real photos of real toothbrushes, real toothpaste, there's a little bird just came to the window. It's really cute, sorry. It's a distraction. So they're all my ideas, reasons, and different things to try. Bearing in mind, I'm not suggesting that it need to take you 10 years to get to get your child to use an electric adult toothbrush, which I still brush his teeth predominantly, but he also brushes his teeth himself as well. So I do the main parts, so that I'm ensure that he gets a really good toothbrush, and we do it in the bath as part of his routine in the evening, and then in the morning toothbrushing, it's in the bathroom downstairs next to the sink. And and he has to close his eyes and he stims but he doesn't, like, he goes to the toothbrush, he gives it to me and he doesn't get upset. It's part of his routine, and he accepts the little quirky little games that we play and the way that we do it. And then I do beep beep on the end of the nose, and it's just all these little things that help give him those nice anchor points where he's like, yeah, 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 all is well. And there is no stress, there is no anxiety, there is no restraining or forcing of any kind whatsoever through the whole process ever since he's been a baby. I've never held him down and brushed his teeth. And yeah, it's taken longer. But are his teeth healthy? Yes, they are. Has it been worth it? I think so. And I know that George thinks so too. So that's just one way of doing things. And, it makes your lives as parents easier, because who wants to cause their child more distress? It just distresses you, which causes anxiety in yourself, and they pick up on that, and it's just a hot mess. So I hope that you found these tips useful and helpful, and please do share on comments, in the comments box, your own experiences and what you're thinking, and the strategies and things that you've tried that have worked for your children or people in your care who are mouth sensitive, autistic. I really, really encourage your support and your communication. And also, as a final, is remember there are autistic groups with sensitive sensory processing, sensitive autistic people, adults, that will help you too, and can also explain other sensory issues that maybe they've experienced, and can give that perspective, which is, a really important, useful tool. So thank you for listening, and you can subscribe in my little picture if you want to, so you just get alerts on all my videos. And for my next video next week, I'm going to be talking about practicing hair. So have a lovely week, and I wish you all well, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.